I'm in a dream state, keen on a clean slate. I got schemes from the things that I've seen, mate. Trapped in a deep state, I come a long way from that kid who's never seen great.
Alright people, so Sick Pete 420 here, I'm back again. So today, as the title suggests, I want to talk about agoraphobia. Now, this is something that, again, I've suffered from in the past, and there's some symptoms of it I still do sort of suffer from, but not as many and not as bad as I used to and as a lot of people do. Now, to get into it, first of all, obviously, for people that don't know, agoraphobia is a type of anxiety disorder. It's very similar to social anxiety, so people have an intense fear to leave their safe zone, their house and that. Some people physically can't leave their house because of it. Others will leave, but normally they have to be with someone, or if they do leave on their own and that, they're usually sort of a bit sketchy. They just want to get everything done quick, not speak to people and that. They just want to get everything done, get back into their safe spot. Now, what causes it? Well, it's not what causes it, but the reasons for them wanting to stay in that safe zone is fear is a primary one. Usually it's a lot of fear of they may be in danger, or they fear that something could happen and help ain't gonna be there. Or sometimes it's just things like wide open spaces, or crowds of people. And one that really was bad for me is public transport, a fear of getting onto buses and trains and stuff, because you're in a confined space, you've got loads of people around you don't know, you're not in control of that bus or that train, you're not in control of where it's going, how it's going, or what happens in the event that it's got to try and avoid danger or whatever. And I don't know, for me that's still quite a scary prospect. In fact, it's even worse since I've got the licence. It's not an easy thing to suffer with, it's not an easy thing to deal with and to cure. It's not like you can just say a couple of words and things will be okay, because no mental health works like that, let's be honest. So I've got some notes here, so if you see me glancing over, I'm just trying to keep myself on track, because I doze off a lot sort of thing, and then I've got to do a shitload of editing, and I don't mind doing the editing, but I always miss bits. So agoraphobia, it says that I've got a website up as well, and for the overview of it and that, they describe it as agoraphobia is a fear of being in situations where escape might be difficult, or that help wouldn't be available if things were to go wrong. Many people assume agoraphobia is simply a fear of open spaces, but it's actually a more complex condition. Someone with agoraphobia may also be scared of travelling on public transport, visiting a shopping centre, or even just leaving their home. Now, leaving your home, to be honest, even if you haven't got agoraphobia, that can be a scary prospect at times. But obviously, with it being part of a anxiety disorder and that, your mind's already thinking of bad scenarios, or thinking what ifs, what if this happens, what if that happens, and you've got all these millions of thoughts going around in your head. And then if you've got things that have happened in the past, then it's fucking dragging them from the back of your mind straight to the front, and it just keeps on cycling and cycling and cycling. Now, if you've got agoraphobia, that can be overwhelming and it will torment you. It will push you to the point that you don't want to go out anymore. Some people, it affects them so that they don't want to see anyone. Other people, they desperately want to see people, but they're in fear of all these different things that they physically cannot put themselves in that situation. And it's quite it's hard to explain. It's quite a complicated situation, because as a lot of people say, your mind's complicated. You've got so much different stuff that can be going on in your mind, and you can have someone in exactly the same situation as you, and they're never going to know quite how you're feeling. They can sort of try and compare, but they're never going to know exactly. Now, as I say, with the complexity of it, every person is individual in how they deal with it and how it affects them physically and emotionally. Some of them can be physical, and I don't just mean like physical, like for an example, it can cause panic attack like symptoms, so your heart rate can be beating like nobody's business. It can be like fucking drum and bass, it's just boom 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 boom, and then like your breathing can be really like, you basically start hyperventilating, you're breathing really fast and really shallow, and that can end up causing you to go lightheaded and dizzy and drowsy. You start feeling really hot and you're getting like sweats, or in some cases it's the opposite. You can feel hot but you're getting like hot shivers, if you know what I mean. Like, it's kind of crazy. It's some of the symptoms that I used to get, like things like that, where I'm boiling hot but I'm shivering, or get really cold but I'm sweating, that, and it would sort of, it would remind me of when I was coming off drugs back when I was like 16, 17, and it's just really strange, like how a mental disorder, nothing physically wrong, it's all a problem in your mind, and I mean that in the most like sincere way possible. I do not mean that in any form of offence whatsoever. It's in your mind, usually due to chemical imbalance, like almost all mental health illnesses are. But it can cause physical effects. So some of the ones that, like, some of the effects like that I've read about, like symptoms that, is some people it can cause nausea, physically vomiting, like from the fear and stuff of it. It can like stress you out and end up causing you to like vomit, which it's really weird. Like that. There was one where I was reading and it was saying about some people actually experience the other end of the scale, things like diarrhea, and even passing out and stuff, where obviously hyperventilating and stuff, starving oxygen from your brain, and you just end up falling unconscious. These symptoms, they can be easy to spot, but again, it's knowing what to do if you've spotted them, because like the person that's suffering, they'll notice them at the time, but they won't always be able to like notice them enough to be able to try and rectify them. And if you're someone who's around someone like that and you notice it, that's when you want to like try and calm them and try and just make like reassure them that everything's okay. These symptoms, it's not just like when they go out, even when they're in the safe zone they can get it. So I know someone who, when I was going to see them and that and going to chill with them, they would get symptoms similar, and it was a similar situation when I was suffering badly from agoraphobia, and friends would come over mine and that, and I'll be sat in the corner of the room, literally just fucking, basically just breaking down like proper bad panic attacks like symptoms. Now, before going any further, that friend that I was mentioning about, they haven't been diagnosed with agoraphobia, but they have been diagnosed with one or two things. I'm not getting into that because that's not my place to discuss it, but going from my personal experiences, it is a likelihood, agoraphobia. So it says people with agoraphobia, they'll try to avoid situations that causes anxiety, which again, just because you're avoiding those situations doesn't mean that you're agoraphobic. Doesn't mean you got agoraphobia, because a lot of people without any mental health illnesses will try to avoid feeling anxious and going into those situations. But it says they may only leave the house with a friend or partner. They'll order groceries online rather than go into like the supermarket. This change in behaviour is known as avoidance. When they're avoiding stuff, as I said earlier, you don't always want to avoid the stuff. You just don't want to go through all of the bad shit that you feel from it. So you're trying your best to get through what you need to do without causing the necessary stress and anxiety, and as a result you end up avoiding a lot of situations that you used to be fine with going in. And a lot of people that suffer with it, they do end up feeling quite down on themselves. I know for one, I really did, because I was avoiding so many situations. I got to the point where I wouldn't see anyone, my mates, they end up like not inviting me out, not wanting to do anything with me, because every time I would just let them down because of it. And then that has a negative impact on the person that's suffering with it, because then they start thinking, well, I'm doing all this and then I'm fucking letting them down. What's the point? Why am I doing this? There's people that are suffering worse than me, but in that moment I'm feeling like shit, the world's revolving around me. I can't think of anything else. This is what I'm thinking of, this is what I've got to sort. And as a result it can then develop into a depression at the same time, if they haven't already got that beforehand. Agoraphobia, it can be caused by quite a lot of things. To be honest, one thing that I found was I used to rheumatise a lot because of my mental health, like because of my anxiety and my depression stuff. I used to sit in my room and overthink, and I would overthink and start thinking about shit that's then connected to this shit, and then suddenly it's connected to that shit and then that shit. And I'm a firm believer that almost everything is connected in one way or another, but you're connecting the dots in the wrong order when you rheumatise, and then as a result that can end up making you feel anxious. And at first I was just withdrawing because I was trying to make myself better, so I thought, right, if I avoid these situations, that'll help solve the anxiety, then I can solve my depression because I ain't having to deal with the anxiety as well. But then what I found was I started getting comfortable with being withdrawn, and then I found when I tried going out and stuff to fight that anxiety, I found it was 100 times worse. And that's when I started to get really agoraphobic, because I just couldn't leave the flat where I was living. I couldn't go out, I couldn't go to the shops or anything. It's a really hard situation for people to be in. Now, as I say, that's just one cause, that's what caused most of mine. But then there's also other causes. So like in that instance, it was a case of my anxiety and panic disorder. It sort of manifested because of my actions, which then grew into that problem. And to be honest, panic disorder, agoraphobia, they go hand in hand. They're not identical, but they're so similar. A panic disorder can quite often develop into agoraphobia. one thing that I did read is that only a small minority of people with agoraphobia have no history of panic attacks. Getting diagnosed with agoraphobia can be hard, which is my next point, because you got a fear of leaving your flat or your house or whatever. You got a fear of crowded places possibly, or a fear of being around people you don't know. And with most mental health illnesses, you've got to go to your GP, go and see them and tell them everything so they can figure out what's wrong and help you. Now with agoraphobia, as I say, that's difficult if you can't leave your home, your safe place. So you can arrange, if you think that if you're in that sort of situation, you can arrange to have a phone consultation over the phone. Again, it's going to take time to make you feel better, and in a way I feel kind of bad about that, because I've got 3-4 friends that have been exhibiting these sort of signs. Some of them it's only been a couple months, some of them it's been a year or two, and I've been trying to push them to get better. Now my way of getting better was, I was like, right, fuck this. I used to get stoned as hell and then just go out and do stuff, and if anything happened sort of thing. I used to go walking around town in Plymouth and I'd have panic attacks. Now I had one time where I passed out on a bench, woke up 3 hours later and that, from a panic attack and stuff, and it was one of those things where I found forcing myself into it was the only way that I was going to get through it. And for a lot of people that can be a dangerous situation, so I wouldn't advise doing that unless you think that unless you think that you're strong enough to be able to do that without causing danger to yourself or to someone else. I would strongly advise against doing it. And that's why I feel bad, because I've been trying to push these people to do it that way, because that way worked for me. And anyone's like that. If you find something that works for you, you want other people to try it because you think, yeah, that will help them. But you've got to think about the pros and cons, on the side of the coin of helping other people. Just because it worked for you, you need to think, would it actually work for them? Is it actually a safe move to start being right, you should start doing this? Tell them how you did it, so they got the idea there, yeah. But don't start pushing it onto them, because again, if they don't feel comfortable doing it and you're trying to force them to do it, you end up making them feel more uncomfortable, and that could just exaggerate the effects of it and cause them to be in the period for even longer because they're struggling to get by. Now, I've got a couple of the questions here that doctor will ask on a phone consultation, so and in person as well. So it says your GP may ask you the following questions: do you find leaving the house stressful? Are there certain places or situations you have to avoid? Do you have any avoidance strategies to help you cope with your symptoms, such as relying on others to shop for you? You've got to tell them everything. The doctors understand it can be difficult for you to speak about your problems and to speak about your feelings and everything, because for some people it can be really embarrassing or really nerve-wracking. They get really anxious and it just feels really horrible. But again, the doctors need to know to give the correct diagnosis. Now, I've been re-diagnosed so many times in my life since I was about 15 when I started seeing the doctors properly. So yeah, it's not like it's it's not like they're asking you these questions to make you feel uncomfortable. They're asking you so they can get it right and not make a mistake thinking you've got one problem when you've actually got another. Now, treating agoraphobia. Now, there's 3 steps that the NHS recommend to approach like treating agoraphobia, and they say that like if you follow the 3 steps, then it's really like it's going to give you a massive chance to be able to get better and be able to go and do all the things. Now again, it's not absolute, it's not definitely going to help, but it's what's suggested as helps a lot of people. So first is to educate yourself about your condition, possible lifestyle changes you can make, and self-help techniques to help relieve symptoms. So like obviously, as I said, research what you're suffering with. With all mental health, doctors sometimes advise against it because you can freak yourself out with some of the stuff that other people have experienced from it. But it's a good idea to be able to understand what's wrong with you and be able to do things correct, like be able to know how to deal with things correctly. When it asks like possible lifestyle changes, now things like eating healthy, if you are able to go out but it's like crowded places, public transport where there's loads of people and stuff, then you avoid that. But if you can go out and you can get to somewhere like, I don't know, say open moorland, the countryside and that, or on the coast and that, and just it's best if you go with someone, especially if you suffer with like depression and stuff like that, because if you get low and that, or you start having like a funny one, it's a good idea to have someone nearby to help you, because believe me, they're the last places you want to be sort of like panicking or passing out or getting stressed, because you get lost, you could end up being in a very dangerous situation and whatnot. But if you can get out to those places, take someone with you. Even if it feels a little bit uncomfortable, take someone with you, go for a nice long walk, deep breaths of the fresh air, and just try to let go, like try to clear your mind, not think about your life, not think about stresses, worries, work, all of that lot. Just think about that moment, just think about like the sights, like the beautiful views and everything, and concentrate on the sounds you can hear, proper like grounding yourself, so like sounds of the birds, or if you can hear a car in the distance, and like the animals, and as you're walking along, if you're walking along leaves or anything, the crunch of them, and that helps sort of ground you, and it keeps you from panicking so much. Now again, it won't work for everyone, but it can help a lot of people. And then self-help techniques to help relieve symptoms. So things like if you're panicking and you're hyperventilating, try and slow down your breathing, so you're taking long deep breaths instead of short, like fast shallow deaths. And you want to just keep on going along with that, just nice and smoothly, and just try and concentrate on something that you don't fear. So like if you're panicking out in the countryside and that, and I don't know, say you see a bird or something and that just like flying around in the sky, or like the trees, or like if there's some sheep or cows or something in the distance, that just try and concentrate on that, something that you don't fear, that you can see, look, this is real, this is all good, it's nice and calm, that's not going anywhere, that's not getting scared, so I've got nothing to fear, I'm fine. And just like try and reassure yourself again with the breathing, trying to clear your mind and just stay calm and relax. the step number 2 is enroll yourself in a guided self-help program. Now, I'm not 100% clued up on this, but from what it says, I'll just read it. It says, self-help techniques that can help during a panic attack include staying where you are, focusing on something that's non-threatening and visible, and slow deep breathing. If your agoraphobia fails to respond to these treatment methods, your GP may suggest trying a guided self-help program. This involves working through self-help manuals that cover the types of issue you might be facing, along the practical advice about how to deal with them. Now, as I say, I'm not fully clued up on that, but self-help books, they can be really good in some situations. I personally haven't read any, but I know some people that have, and they have said that it's helped them massively. But then I've heard other people who's read them and it's not helped at all. It all depends on the individual. So that's always something worth bearing in mind. And number 3 is a more intensive treatment, such as cognitive behaviour therapy, or CBT, which is a type of counselling designed where basically they try to reprogram your mind so that you're thinking in another way, and that can help you sort of get past fear and be able to live properly. Now, I have done CBT, and CBT alongside medication worked really well, but I ended up getting really ill from medication, where I had to have my medication changed so many times, as well as me having like a range of problems. I ended up, and stuff in my life, I ended up trying to take overdoses and suicide attempts, and as a result, like, my body, I'd start getting really nauseous and tend to throw up when I take medication. But yeah, CBT is a good one, and then next to it also says or medication, which again, as I say, medication works for some people, other people they can't take it. Some people, they get really bad effects, and I mean like major effects. They won't kick in like, oh, you take the pill and then all of a sudden you're gonna pass out or whatever. The one thing that people do say to do, but to be honest, I'm gonna tell you the opposite. I'm gonna tell you not to do it unless it's been a couple days and you're starting to think, shit, this doesn't feel right. And that's looking at the leaflet that tells you the symptoms, because a lot of people look at those leaflets, and I used to do it as well, and all of a sudden you look at it and it freaks you out, and you start thinking, right, I can't take this medication, this is gonna fuck me up. And then when you take it, your mind's already playing tricks on you, so you start thinking, oh, is my stomach hurting? Oh, am I feeling this? Am I feeling that? Shit, I think I'm suffering with this, can't take it. And that, 9 times out of 10, you're not. It's just your mind's playing tricks on you. It wants you to think that you are. Jesus, this is gonna be a long video. Now, I've been a prick to some people lately. That some of them are like 1 or 2 of them are suffering from agoraphobia, and then there's 1 or 2 that I suspect are from what they've shown me. Now, I want to take time, because I know some of them, all of them probably end up watching this video. I just want to take time, if they are watching this, to apologise, say sorry, like, for trying to push yous to like get better, because until I made this video, to be honest, I never actually thought about the consequences, the side effects of the way that I was trying to help you. I wasn't thinking about it. I was just thinking, right, this helped me, I'll basically force it on them and that will help. And if anything, I think a couple of them, it's made them worse. Kind of feels like I've lost a couple of them as friends through it. And yeah, I think I should have took more time to think about it, because all my friends, like even people that I don't like, if I see them struggling, like, especially if it's a mental health problem, I'll do my best to help them. I don't care how much of a grudge I've got against them. Yeah, I'll hate them while I'm trying to help them, but I always want to help people. No one deserves to be struggling, especially not trapped in their own minds. That's a different kind of hell. And to think that I could possibly have like made some like a couple of the few friends I do have feel a lot worse than what they already was through my ways of helping them, all because I didn't actually think about it. I just want to, as I say, I just want to take the time to apologise deeply for that, and I hope everyone that watches this can gather some information from it. I hope that they can learn to get by, and I want you all to remember that this channel's a safe haven. Subscribe to it. If you need to talk to someone, message me over on through the YouTube inbox, through the Facebook inbox. I don't check Twitter much, but I'll try to. If you search Sick Pete 420 on Instagram, you find it on there. I would give out my Snapchat, but it's best not to, because when I'm on like a low mood and that, I will tend to put up stories that can be triggering. That's why I don't even have a lot of people on Snapchat for that reason. Only a couple close people who know about it and can deal with it if I do put anything triggering up. But please subscribe, like, comment, like just comment about your experiences, or even like just showing some support, because to be honest, I haven't seen much support on my videos in a while. Like, I've seen the thumbs up and that, which is good, but like I haven't really been getting many comments, and especially lately, and I don't know, I kind of miss having a couple of people just like chatting, just showing that they're watching it right to the end. But yeah, I've got to go and edit this now, so peace.